A little bit past time to start our meeting, so we do need to call this meeting to order. And as we do usually, we'll have an invocation and then the Pledge of Allegiance. And I'm going to ask Mr. Bill Matheny if he would be so kind as to lead the invocation. Well, the Lord will still hear you.
Father in heaven, Lord, as we humbly bow, we're so thankful, Lord, for any blessings of another day of life, for all you love towards us, for everything you do for us. Ask you, Lord, to look down here tonight, dear Heavenly Father, supply the needs that might be upon your children here tonight, Lord. Lord, as always, we pray for the sick, and you heal their bodies. We pray for those that's lost your loved ones, Lord, you'd comfort them. Lord, we ask you to be with this meeting here tonight. Everything be done according to your will. Will not fail to bow our heads. Give you praise for everything. Lord, we ask it all in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Roger Williams, would you mind to lead the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We were experiencing a little, as they say, technical difficulties with the PowerPoint that we usually have up on the screen behind me. So if you'll just bear with us, when we get to that portion, we'll honor any questions, or if something's not clear, as usual, we'll try to help in any way possible. First of all, we need to have the roll called. Ms. Flatt, please.
Honorable Mayor Fowler.
Present.
Honorable Vice Mayor Norris.
Present.
Honorable Councilman Bilbrey.
Present.
Honorable Councilwoman Hawkins.
Present.
Honorable Councilman Hill.
Present.
Okay, thank you for that. And I'm going to ask now if the council has had a chance to review tonight's agenda as well as the minutes of the last meeting.
I'll make a motion to approval.
Okay, do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, or I guess Ms. Black, call the roll.
Mayor Fowler.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Norris.
Yes.
Honorable Bilbrey.
Yes.
Honorable Hawkins.
Yes.
Honorable Hill.
Yes.
So we have combined for the record keeping number 1, which was the agenda, and number 2, which was approval of the minutes. The next item on the agenda is old business. I'm not aware that we have any, but Mr. Morrison, if you have anything.
There's no old business.
Okay. Number 6 is new business. Under that, we have to consider approval to suspend the reading of ordinance 62919 and 63019. They are designated, and I think we do have them here, and they will be brought up later in the meeting, but we would consider a motion to suspend the reading of those ordinances at this time.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Ms. Flatt?
Mayor Fowler.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Norris.
Yes.
Honorable Bilbrey.
Yes.
Honorable Hawkins.
Yes.
Honorable Hill.
Yes.
Okay. The next item is consider approval to designate the old City Hall for some purpose. We have been having some discussion regarding what to do with old City Hall, and I'm sure most of you are familiar with where that is. But we have to, or we should be thinking about what we want to do with that. As I understand it, you know, we always have the option to sell the property, but and I think I've expressed this publicly, that I would like personally to see a draw to the downtown area. I'd like to see us have more businesses, more flow, more interest generated in the downtown area. But you know, we're here as your representatives, and we just need to come to some sort of decision as to what we think would be best for that location. Mr. Morrison has done some extensive research, and he has some facts and figures which might interest you, and so if you want to share that with us.
The City Hall facility, we own approximately 75% of the building. The estimated tax value is around $130,000. There are two splits that could be made in the building to allow us to use that for additional renters, to allow businesses to use the facility and however you all see fit. One of the proposals was to do a business incubator system to allow whoever those businesses are that rent it some time period that they would be offset for their rent by an amount to allow them to update the building and make it usable and get a business off the ground. Once that business is up and running, then we could increase the rent incrementally over whatever time period that you all see fit. Again, the sale of the building is around $138,000 is the tax appraisal value. There is some work that needs to be done, so the business incubator system would, if we offset the rent and allow them some time to build up a business and do some remodels, we could use that as such. And then later, if you decide after the incubator system's up and running that you still want to sell it, we could do that as well.
Do we have any discussion, any questions amongst the council?
Keith, do you have any interest? I mean, you don't have to say who, but I'm just kind of curious, is that a feasible plan?
It is. We've had several interested parties. I've actually had one recently who's come in twice inquiring about the facility and if we have any updates. That's why I asked for this to be on the vote item tonight so we can make a decision on how we want to move forward. If we decide we want to go the lease option with a business incubator, then we can work with Danny to create a lease agreement on whatever terms you all outline as appropriate and what you feel is appropriate for the rent offset. And then also outline when you think the end of that rent offset should be and when it should be at full-blown rent. If you decide to sell it, then we just surplus it and we'll figure out the best way to sell it at that point.
When was it used last? I mean, just curious.
April of 2013. Last year we put a new roof on it.
So what's your recommendation? I mean, what if we needed a recommendation? Are you advocating for, some sort of incubator system where somebody comes in and gets a little bit of a decrease in rent to help revitalize that building?
It would be my recommendation to go with a business incubator. Maybe give them a couple months, no rent, and they just take over utilities and start remodeling the building and let them build up a business in there. They would also try to bring businesses back downtown and revitalize that downtown area and build it back up.
And I'm not sure, but it may be that if we go with the incubator idea, that we might could apply for some grants that would help with, the revitalization of downtown, whether it's light post or, whatever it could be. At least it's a possibility.
Do we have any kind of long-term plan for downtown? I mean, it's such a quaint little, it's just a great strip of land, and I mean, seeing some more businesses down there I think is a good first step, but is there a long-term plan for the downtown area?
At this point, it's only been designated as the central business district. There's really no long-term plan. One of the original additions was to extend the rail trail through that part of town to bring more walkers down in the area and hopefully revitalize those businesses and try to bring them back and get people back in the downtown area.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
No, just
Okay.
it's zoned for central business districts. That'd be general commercial, which would be offices, businesses, small retail spaces, things of the such.
And have you got any pushback from anyone up, living close by? I mean, I don't think there's any houses.
There's not really any
really
residents close by. Everything around it's pretty much businesses.
Yeah.
So I think the move to have more business downtown would be welcomed by all the other business owners. Mr. Bill has recently stepped aside at the barber shop and is looking to rent that space out as well, I think, to another barber. So I think having those other businesses put downtown would also be a benefit to him to help find a new barber to rent. And I'm sure we've got some folks that are really missing Mr. Bill not being there at this point. So I think they would welcome that opportunity to have additional businesses and a new barber and a more central downtown where people are coming back to.
Okay. Any other discussion or questions? Okay. Do I hear a motion to consider the old city hall, and what would you want that to be? We sell it, incubator businesses.
To me, I think we need to keep it.
I agree.
I make the motion, we do it as an incubator business.
I second that.
And it's worth pointing out, I mean, we can always sell it later. I mean, if you're leasing it, I mean, if we get to a
Right.
point where we don't want it,
We
you
can
can
unload it.
just unload it and, go from there.
Well, I think it would encourage, I really do, businesses to come back and when people start up, they need a little help, and there's going to be some renovation costs that they're going to have to incur, and so I fully support it and hope that, we have some folks who want to give it a try. All right, we've had motion and a second to designate the old city hall for possible businesses, incubator projects. I'll ask Ms. Flatt to call the roll.
Mayor Fowler,
Yes?
Vice Mayor Norris,
Yes.
Honorable Bilbrey,
Yes.
Honorable Hawkins,
Yes.
Honorable Hill.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for that. And number 5 on our agenda is consider approval to designate Mr. Philip Moss as the health officer. Now, my understanding of this, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that we have had in the past maybe a police officer who was serving as the codes officer, going around and checking properties and seeing who's in violation or who's got junk cars or the grass is too high or things like that. But we have, or Mr. Morrison thinks that it's better plan to designate someone, not necessarily a police officer, but just someone that might be less confrontational, or the citizens would accept it better. And that would be, we call it codes, but the official title is health officer. Or at least that's what our manual says. So we had an opportunity to meet Mr. Moss yesterday afternoon. And so if there are any questions you like to have asked or answered. No.
Yeah, so
I do.
Keith, he's only been with us a little while. If it would be good to kind of just break down a little history on Mr. Moss and kind of your plan too. He's not going to be full-time.
Right.
Coach,
Mr. Moss
is
has
that
been
right?
with us for approximately 90 days. He was formerly with IWC, has a lot of management experience, a lot of computer experience, a lot of paperwork experience. Mr. Moss is with us tonight. If you'd like to have him step to the podium. He comes with a lot of background with the management skills and the ability to deal with the kind of paperwork that we need and keep good records and track things and be able to follow up and do those types of things. He's currently employed in the Public Works Department. He's rode the trash truck several times, so he's seen the properties all over town. Mr. Moss will work at least 2 days a week here in City Hall out of an office, and that will give him Monday and Friday from 8 to 4, where he's always here, where if people need to get a hold of him, they can follow up. It allows him more opportunity to get out and do follow-ups. With the police department, the police officers on a rotating schedule, so they were never here the same day. Also, if they got a what I would designate as a hot call, a priority call, they would have to stop what they were doing and go answer that call. Mr. Moss will not be plagued with having to deal with that. He can donate all of his time those 2 days to follow-ups and continuing to work on the properties in town that we need to address.
I have a question. I understand that he's with Public Works now.
He is.
Okay. If the 2 days that he's going to be working as the codes officer, codes enforcement, are we still going to pay Mr. Moss out of the Public Works budget? How is that going to figure into things?
Currently, he's still being paid out of the Public Works budget, so that wouldn't move. Now, in the event you want to move him to a different position, we could change that, and I could change the percentage however you all wanted to do that. But currently, he would continue to be paid out of the Public Works budget.
Okay.
This is your recommendation for, I mean, this is coming from you as a recommendation. I mean.
Yes, this is
I
my
don't think we
recommendation.
can get in- I'm just reticent on getting into hiring and firing and placing people into whatever roles. This is your recommendation as for this position.
Right. For our codes enforcement, the municipal code says that the council has to designate the health officer.
So we're
And
not
so that's the
choosing this person, we're
official
just
title
we're
that
accepting
he
your
has to
recommendation
have.
as
Right.
the designation of the health officer. Is that
Mhm.
right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Section 13-101. Health officer. The health officer shall be such municipal, county, or state officer as the governing body shall appoint or designate to administer and enforce health and sanitation regulations within the municipality. So, it does say that we do the appointing or the designating, that, but coming from a recommendation, I think is appropriate from the gentleman who's here all day, every day. So, I just wanted to point out, it's in Title 13, Section 13-101. So, it does put the responsibility on the governing body, yes. All right, do we hear a motion to approve or designate Mr. Moss as the health officer?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Ms. Flatt?
Mayor Fowler,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Norris,
Yes.
Honorable Bilbrey,
Yes.
Honorable Hawkins,
The reason why I'm gonna vote this way is I feel like we need a codes person and inspector together, so I'm gonna have to vote no.
Honorable Hill,
Yes.
Okay.
But, I mean, I will also say that, you know, just to second that, if this doesn't work, you know, Keith has the ability to make changes if we need somebody dedicated on a full-time basis or whatnot. I'm sure, we'll just ask Keith to keep that open.
Yes.
If that needs to be changed, let's change it.
We always have the,
Always have that.
yeah, we do. Okay. Motion carries. Congratulations, I think, to Mr. Moss. Understand he's already been warmly received in some areas of town. So, so good luck. All right. Next item is to consider approval to surplus the 2014 Dodge Charger Unit 6620, allowing the city administrator to sell it to another agency at fair market value or auction it online. I think I understand that this is a police vehicle, fully outfitted with lights and sirens and radios, all the necessary stuff. And what we would propose to do is to sell that perhaps to another police department as it is. Okay. And if we cannot sell it to another agency, then would we leave the stuff on to sell it online, or would we
Some of the stuff would
remove
have to
it?
come off,
Okay.
depending on how we sold it online. We could try a law enforcement agency only auction. If that fails, then to sell it to general public, we would have to remove emergency equipment and blue light bar.
Chief, how much you think you're getting for it? Keith, any ideas? Just general. You can't predict the future. I'm just curious more than anything.
My guess is somewhere between 15, 18,000, maybe.
I will say, Mr. Hill, back in July, we ordered the first car to replace this one. We just now received it from Chrysler. 7 months later.
Nice.
It's taken us a while.
How many miles does this thing have on it? Is this the most highest mileage one?
Not the highest mileage car, it's the one with the most maintenance issues. It's got transmission problems, it's leaking oil, burning oil. It's the one we're having the most maintenance issues with. We've taken the tires off of it, the new tires that we put on it, and rolled some others on it.
Great. Thank you.
Any further questions? All right. Do we have a motion to allow the city administrator to sell this vehicle to another agency at fair market value, or if that doesn't work, then to auction it online?
I make a motion.
Ms. Hawkins made the motion.
I'll second.
Mr. Bilbrey. Miss Ann, would you call the roll?
Mayor Fowler,
Yes?
Vice Mayor Norris,
Yes.
Honorable Bilbrey,
Yes.
Honorable Hawkins.
Yes.
Honorable Hill.
Yes.
Item number 7 is concerning approval of awarding a sidewalk bid for 2019 to Affordable Driveways and Patios with the prices as outlined in the bid submittal. And I am going to let Mr. Morrison tell us more about what's needed and what the bid was and those kinds of things.
To allow us to continue to pour sidewalk after the budget year rolls, and as we put money into the sidewalk budget, we have bid this per square foot for install, with concrete to be included at the time of construction at current market value for that concrete. So these are asking for typical sidewalk 4 inches thick. What is the per square foot rate for an install minus the concrete? It's $225 for a driveway crossing 6 inches thick. It's $225 a square foot for the install. For concrete curb, it's $5 per linear foot. For pedestrian 4x2 ramp with truncated domes, it's $150 plus the square foot price, which rounds out to about $168 per ramp. And then demolition with haul away is $1.50 per square foot. They did not include a demolition if we provided the site, so they're going to haul it away and get rid of it at $1.50 a square foot if they have to remove any. We did this way to allow us to get more sidewalk installed and for longer times. So this bid is actually good until December 31st of 2019, so that we can continue to pour sidewalk, and if we come across a section that needs repair, or if it's busted up, we can install that section, and we have a per square foot price to install it, allowing us more leadway for repair and update. And if we just want to pour a whole new section, full section, we can do that as well. The last run of sidewalk we poured in November. We poured the total cost for concrete, handicap domes, and all was $16,440. We poured 794.6 linear feet of 5-foot sidewalk for that price, and we installed 3 handicap domes for that price. That is the sidewalk that goes down Main Street and is up near Speedway and Ace Hardware. So what we would like to do is, once this approved and the weather gets better, is finish pouring that sidewalk up to Big Mac Drive, and that will complete that side of Main Street all the way around past the ballpark. We also have some other areas we need to focus on. 2nd Avenue North, I think we talked about last night, instead of pouring it on both sides, taking the one side out at the Iglesia Church and cleaning that up to prevent anybody from getting hurt. There's a section on Main Street near Harp Avenue that needs to be addressed, that we need to work on culverts and drains and redo the sidewalk between Church Street and the White Plains Academy. So there's some areas in there that need to be worked on. And then any additional areas that you all want to extend sidewalks and continue working on. We're going to review the master plan, see which areas are showing as high priority again, and go back and visit those. And I believe we've completed the sidewalk on Wall Street, so we've made some pretty good gains in sidewalk recently. The last time we had this bid was last year. Again, he was the sole bidder. The only price that's different this time versus the last bid he submitted was on the pedestrian ramps. He added the square foot price for the 4x2 section at $225 a square foot. The last time we bid that we had another bidder was back in 2017. The other bidder for typical sidewalk per square foot was wanting $10 per square foot for the install. For a driveway, they wanted $15. For concrete curb, they wanted $45. For a pedestrian ramp, they wanted $800. Demolition with Holloway was $10, and demolition with city providing a location for the debris was still $750 a square foot, and that's been 2 years ago. So the affordable driveways bid hasn't changed, like I said, other than the pedestrian ramp. And the last time we had other bidders, it was quite a difference in the cost. We had several other companies call. Several went online and got the bid specs, and we had no other bids submitted.
But we have worked with these folks before.
We
Or
have.
have
They've
we?
poured the
That
Main
they
Street
did.
sidewalk.
Okay.
Yes.
Any questions?
So
Key-
we've worked with, oh, I'm so sorry. We've worked with him before, no issues before. Is he local? I'm just seeing the address here.
Lives over in Shenandoah,
Okay.
just outside of
Just
town.
outside. Okay.
He is a water utility customer, if that helps you any.
It does.
Keith, in
So
front,
are you saying, Keith, that if it doesn't get done according to what's outlined here, that his
We would
water
never
might go
terminate-
off?
we'd never
Oh,
terminate his water.
Okay.
As long as he pays the bill.
Okay.
in front of Potter's down there's a little section of sidewalk there around that light pole. What's the,
We're going to pour around the pole, probably a little section on the backside too, and just make it wider in that area so they can go on either side of the pole. We just didn't get to that section before the weather went bad. So as soon as this goes through, we're going to start pouring again. Like I say, we are going to finish in front of Speedway and go all the way to Big Mac Drive. So that will put sidewalk all the way down that side of the street, all the way to the ballpark.
okay.
You reference master plan, sidewalk master plan. How are you develop? Is that just something you and Victor?
No, the engineer actually designed it several years ago, and we start looking at sidewalk areas that are considered high critical, have a lot of cracks, a lot of damages. Last year we poured some new sidewalks because we had requests for new sidewalks around the ballpark and some additional sidewalks up towards Main Street to address areas where people are having to get in the street to cross over and get to a different sidewalk, and Main Street didn't have a complete sidewalk all the way up, so we finished those sections.
And the engineering involved would be out of Mr. Jimmy Haley's office.
It would be.
We've
It's-
used him for several.
Right.
I'll be kind and say several years.
Several years.
Yes, we were using them when I was mayor the first time, so that's a long time ago. All right. Any further questions? Okay. Do I hear a motion to consider the awarding the sidewalk bid to Affordable Driveways and Patios?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All right. We have a motion and a second. Ms. Flatt, would you call the roll?
Mayor Fowler,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Norris,
Yes.
Honorable Bilbrey,
Yes.
Honorable Hawkins,
Yes.
Honorable Hill.
Yes.
And I guess I would say on that subject that I think the three biggest issues that I've had people approach me with would be sidewalks, paving, and sewer. So those are, this is something that I think the public wants us to continue with.
Absolutely. And Keith, if somebody has a concern, they can just come to you and you kind of.
Sure, if they want to come to us, we'll be glad to review it and look at it. We're
Good.
continually looking at areas we need to improve on. We're going to try to update the master plan before we get to the budget cycle and give you all an update of what sidewalks are in and what condition they're in as well. So you'll have an idea of what kind of money you want to budget this year for the budget.
All right. Item number 8 is to consider approval on first reading of ordinance 629-19, which would amend our municipal code section 18-112. This is concerning our utilities billing, and you want to address that, why
Okay.
this is necessary.
Last month, we chose Fox Billing to do collections for delinquent accounts that were past due and had not been paid. After further review, Fox Billing requires us to have the guidelines in our policy that allow the collection as allowed by state up to 40% for collection agencies. That's to prevent us from losing any of the money. When we were dealing with Fox and passed it last month, we were under the impression we could collect 100% of our fee and then plus their 33 1/3%. After further review, we found that we need to make some adjustments to our policy to ensure that was allowed as allowed by state law. So this is amending section 18-112 to add the following language. In the event that a bill is not paid after collection attempts have been made, the account may be referred to a collection agency. The delinquent party will be responsible for all costs of collection, including but not limited to attorney's fees, collection agency fees, and clerk of court costs. The collection agency may be paid an amount not exceeding 40% of the sums collected as consideration for collecting the fines and costs as set forth in Tennessee Code Annotated 40-24-105, Section 2. So this is just putting the wording in our billing that allows us to add on the collection agency fee to the delinquent account.
Okay. And as we discussed last meeting, while I would not be working on any all good accounts, I am the attorney of record for Fox Collections for what they do in Cookeville. And so I am going to abstain either way. I don't want there to be any appearance of impropriety. So, do I hear approval, a motion for approval of ordinance 629-19, which amends municipal code section 18-112?
I make a motion.
Second.
Okay. Ms. Hawkins and Ms. Norris. All right. Ms. Platt, and
Okay, you're
I'm going to
abstaining.
abstain.
Vice Mayor Norris.
Yes.
Honorable Bilbrey.
Yes.
Honorable Hawkins.
Yes.
Honorable Hill.
Yes.
Item number 9, which is very similar to the one that we just covered, it's to consider approval on first reading of ordinance 630-19, which again is just adopting Tennessee Code Annotated, the state law 40-24-105 for the collection of fines, costs, and litigation taxes, and we can convert that to a civil judgment. And if I understand it, this applies mostly to our tickets and court fines, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Does anybody have any questions about that?
Do you all want the long version or the short version?
Short version.
The short
No,
version.
I thought I was thinking the longer version, but anyway. doesn't
Is there a
matter.
benefit, Danny?
It-
What would you recommend?
Yes, that's
The
what
long one. They both include the language for 40%. The long one just has a little more wordage. accepting the Tennessee code annotated and spelling it out that it is being applied to tickets and such.
Any questions? Okay. Luke? Okay. All right. Do we have a motion to approve ordinance 630-19, which is adopting Tennessee Code Annotated 4024-105?
I make the motion.
Second.
And we're going the long version.
Long version.
Long version.
Okay. All right. Ms. Flatt?
Mayor Fowler,
Yes?
Vice Mayor Norris.
Yes.
Honorable Bilberry.
Yes.
Honorable Hawkins.
Yes.
Honorable Hill.
Yes.
Okay, we're on to number 10, and that is to consider approval to award the heat and air installation at the library, and in an amount. So we have to decide who we want to award the bid to and the amount of that bid. I notice our librarian is here, and we teased her about, I'm sure she would like to have heat and air at the library, as well as the patrons there, I'm sure. I offered to buy her a fan, and she didn't go for that. So,
I offered a wood stove.
well,
Heat and air were covered.
yeah. Okay, Mr. Morrison, you want to clue us in about this?
The library wing at the community center doesn't get air from the heat and air units there. She has to rely on fans and small space heaters to keep it heated and cooled. It does get temperature elevations. The answer to that we have looked at is what is considered a ductless mini split heat pump. It has heat and air in it. It'll have copper tubing and electric going outside, and then just the unit inside, so it doesn't require all of the duct work with a normal unit. These units came from two different companies, so we had All Seasons Heating and Cooling and Aloha bid these. Each company bid 2 units. All Seasons bid a 2-ton Fujitsu unit, and I don't have the SEER rating on that, at $4,275 install. They bid a Mitsubishi 2-ton unit that is a 20 SEER rating with a 5-year parts warranty at $4,686. Aloha bid 2 units. Both units have a 5-year parts, 7-year compressor, 1-year labor warranty. Option 1 was an 18 SEER Mitsubishi unit for $3,400. Option 2 was a Mitsubishi 22 SEER 2-ton unit for $4,077. The higher the SEER rating, the more efficient the unit. You're going to pay a little more up front, but hopefully the electricity bill would be a little bit less in the long run. So the higher SEER rating is going to give you the better output. Aloha has the highest SEER rating and both of the lowest bids. If you went with the 22 SEER Mitsubishi from Aloha, you're still only at $4,077. Both bids from All Seasons exceeded that amount. So the question is, it looks like Aloha is the apparent low bidder for both units. Which SEER rating do you prefer? And that will determine which unit we go with.
Okay, and I have a question. And Mr. Bilber, you may have to educate me.
Okay.
And maybe Mr. Morrison too. What is a SEER rating?
Energy efficient rating.
Okay, thank you. Am I the only one that didn't know what that was?
Probably not. You're okay.
Okay. All right. Does anybody have any questions further? Or?
I'd just say, Keith, what do you recommend? I think we had Victor look at it. What did Victor recommend?
To get the most efficiency, Aloha with a 22 SEER at $4,077 is probably your best purchase.
Bill, you seem to be our resident expert in this. You
Mhm.
can confirm.
I would go with Aloha.
Okay. Not hearing any more questions, I will consider approval to award the heat and air install at the library to whichever company and whichever amount that you choose to go with. So I'm entertaining a motion at this point.
I make the motion, we go with the low hog for the 22 series unit.
I'll second.
Okay.
That's $4,077 bid price.
Correct.
And this may be the wrong time to ask this, but how soon can they start? My copy is so faded, I can't see.
These are January bids. I'm sure they'd have to order some equipment, so my guess is it would be in within a couple of weeks and installed. And they wanted payment within 30 days, so I'm sure they'll have it in
Okay.
less than 30
It'll
days.
take less than a day to put it in.
Yeah, it's not a very
Okay.
big difficult deal.
Okay.
That's the other reason we went with the unit. The install is very easy and simple, and there's not a lot to keep up on them. So
Okay. We have a motion and a second to approve Aloha in the bid amount of $4,077. I think it's time for a roll call, Ms. Blatt.
Mayor Fowler,
Yes?
Vice Mayor Norris.
Yes.
Honorable Bilberry,
Yes.
Honorable Hawkins.
Yes.
Honorable Hill.
Yes.
Congratulations, Miss Librarian. Okay. Those are all of the items under consideration at this time. However, it is time for our city administrator's report, and I want to give Mr. Morrison an opportunity to tell us whatever he needs to or wants to.
the fire hall punch list should be ready by Thursday. The architect's going to walk through, do a final punch list, see what little items are left. We walked through the other day to see they're already addressing those items. The paving and the landscaping will have to be done in the spring, so there will be a retainer that will be held and not paid to the contractor to ensure that those items are completed satisfactorily, and we will not pay for those items until they are completed. So that will be held out. Other than that, we anticipate everything should be ready for move-in next week. The sewer project, water project, we have talked to the property owners again. Matthew with Haley Engineering is working on those easements to correct the language that they wanted in those, and we're going to present them to them again to see if we've corrected everything they've asked for. So hopefully we've got that wrapped up and we'll have a signature soon. That's all I've got, Department Head. Victor's out tonight. He's got a health issue he's dealing with.
Well, I'm personally bothered by, this sewer project because it has been lingering now for so long. I think that I recall, and correct me if I'm wrong, that we started getting these easements June of 2018 or
It was
even
probably-
farther back.
Probably around June when we started getting them, and we got several real quick, and then they slowed down, and then they picked up again, and then they slowed down, and they picked up. We have 3 remaining, and these are the final negotiations to complete those. Matthew has been directed to go ahead and get all the paperwork ready. Rural Development has everything they need, and begin processing that to go ahead and go to bid, and we're going to finalize these easements. So I'm hoping to have these wrapped up before the next council meeting.
Okay, in the event that they are not wrapped up, I think we should get ready to discuss with our legal counsel other options. Would you not agree with me?
I would agree with you. At
Okay.
that point, we're going to have to do something to move forward, because this
This has been
Right.
pending too long, and we've got citizens who are waiting.
We have
and
people
we've got,
waiting,
Yeah, 3
and-
people holding up a project.
Right. And at this point, of course, the weather's going to have to break, but we want to be ready as soon as the weather breaks to start
Sure.
digging and installing. So
Okay,
that's the plan.
all right. Sounds good. Any questions? Okay. Now we come to the portion of the meeting where we have hearing of citizens and or delegations. Do we have anybody that would, well, I see we have somebody who's not bashful. She's coming to the podium. This is Miss Linda Bilberry.
Okay, I have a question.
Okay?
When
Our city manager's Mr.
Yes.
Morrison, yes.
was talking about the old city hall, it's not something that I need an explanation for. I understood, which I could have misunderstood, I understood him to say say that we own
Oh.
75% of it?
Yes.
Explain that to me.
Not sure how that came about. We own 3 sections of the building. There are 2 other sections that belong to Bill the barber. One of them was his actual barbershop. The other one is the hair salon that is rented out to the other young lady. How that ever came to be, I'm not sure I could answer that, but the ownership is split in that manner. So we own where the old work session and mayor's office was, where the utility billing payment office was, and where the old PD was. So there are actually 3 grand divisions that we own and about 2 that Bill owns. And based on square footage, that figures out to about 75%, even though he actually owns 2 of 5 grand divisions. It's about 75% of the square footage.
Okay. Now, my next question is, because I thought, how do you own 75% of a building? That's like me owning 75% of my house.
Right.
I might give Bill a little bit. If the incubator thing doesn't work out, how do you plan on selling 75% of a building?
According to the deed of record in the tax office, it's deeded out to where we own those sections. I haven't actually pulled the record to see, but that's
Why
the.
don't you just say you own that 100% of that part?
We own 100% of our available space.
Okay. Because I was totally confused, and I thought, man, if I don't understand, there's gotta be other people that didn't understand.
Right.
But I don't know if they caught it.
Well, it's one solid building. For instance, when we did the roof and we put the roof on, we did the contract because we had to bid it, and then Bill reimbursed us his 25% of the roof replacement.
Okay, that's what I needed to know.
Okay, there was a lady in the back, blonde, raised her hand. She was next, I think, and then I'll get to you, sir. Well, we can just hear you better. Yes, ma'am. If you'll just, when you get up here, if you'll just tell us your name, and then we'll.
My name is Mary Vaughn,
Okay.
and I am one of 3 heirs of the property on 154 Macaulay, Norwood.
Okay.
Okay, there was evidently sewer line dug up, ground dug up, and sewer line laid without my knowledge, without my oldest brother's knowledge. And I've contacted the chief of police twice with no response, and I kinda like to know why.
Okay.
I don't know who did that. I don't know what happened. I've not spoke to my younger brother or that. I don't know anything about it, other than going over there and seeing it for myself.
Okay. Chief, did you receive any messages from Miss Vaughn?
I did, and I returned your call and left a message. I left a message for you. You came in one day and they lost the number. Then when you called back, I got your number and called you back, and I actually hit the city manager at the same time.
Okay, so she's the message.
So I did return the call.
It's my understanding that the city was not involved with that process. That it more than likely will be a civil matter. And I don't know, honestly, I have no idea who did the digging, but I have questioned our staff, and I am assured that it was not the city of Allgood. Okay. Oh. Okay. So, Ms. Vaughn, while it's a civil matter, if you think there was something criminal involved, I'm sure the police chief would be happy to meet with you and get your concerns, and maybe you all tonight could schedule a time that he would be available and you would be available, but we certainly want to answer any questions or, listen to any complaint that you might have of a criminal nature. Okay. Ma'am, I don't know because I don't know who did the digging. Okay. I've
Kinds of stories, so I don't really know.
So what was put in? was it a sewer line or was it a water line or?
It went directly from, I went and took a picture.
Okay.
I took a picture.
So there was a
It-
question
The
of,
backside where that, my dad got an easement. He signed that easement to have that put in years ago. For a free access to it when it was available. Then, before he died, he didn't get it put in. But I just grapevine, heard, plus I go by there all the time. And I went to the backside, the other street behind, and pulled right into the sewer annex or whatever it is, you know, whatever you call it. And there has been, all the way across the backside of my dad's property, I mean all the way across it, dug up, and a line laid, covered up, and, straw. And it's like half of a lot, it took half of a lot, so, it's pretty bad.
Yeah.
Keith, we've confirmed it's not anyone. From
It's not the
right?
city.
This is the
It
city.
is the Chad Gilbert issue, where he came to the BZA and planning, I think it was BZA, and said he had an easement across that I guess a brother signed. We called him, said, look, there's a lady saying you don't have that easement. He said, I've got it. Again, it's a civil issue, so I couldn't really do anything about it. Chad Gilbert with Putnam Contracting would be the one you would need to talk to. Chad Gilbert at Putnam Properties, and I'll be glad to get you a contact number after the meeting for you. You're welcome.
Thank you, Ms. Vaughn. Gentleman right here.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council.
Good e-
Good to see y'all. I do got a good reputation right here. I know most of the people in the room. I am one of the interested parties of the old City Hall, and I talked to the manager about it. I live maybe 3/4 of a mile from here on Buck Mountain Road. I am a Christian man. I got a bluegrass gospel group. I've had about 7 years. And I wanted to put a guitar or a music store in the building. I know it's in bad shape. Part of it is anyway. I've been by there 2 or 3 times and looked at it. But I am willing to go in there and clean it up and do what needs to be done. If y'all allow me to do that, I just wish y'all would consider me. So.
Well, absolutely, we want to consider everybody, but I seems like it.
Lots of people ask for it, but I've been looking at it and pondering on it for a month or so. So I would appreciate if y'all would consider it.
Well, if you may remember better than I do, but at one time, I'd say catty-cornered, Mr. Mal Stover had a music shop. Yep, used to give lessons and look at instruments and that kind of thing. So,
Make it a guitar / whoever wants to bring on consignment.
oh, okay.
Hopefully grow the business on that end of town. So I appreciate y'all would consider it.
Okay, well, thank you. We sure will.
Are you doing lessons?
We will be in touch since they give me approval to move forward.
Do we have anybody else? Oh, come ahead, Mr. Williams.
I was on the committee that we got the parkland and everything, and I sort of feel like I'm sort of responsible for it or something. And I noticed the only place where we might already have a parking lot, and one of the first things you want to maybe put in there, the cheapest would be a walking area. I noticed off of 111, just at the edge of the bridge there, we started putting leaves down. It's 4 foot deep and 10, 15 foot high there, right in the front of it. Why are we putting leaves on the park, using it as a dump, sort of? What did we do with the leaves before?
Leaves usually turn to compost, so the intent there was to use them.
It's getting pretty deep.
Yeah, we're going to spread them out and.
That's gonna cost money to move if we ever do decide to do it.
Well,
So I just sort of wanted to know, you know, we're causing a problem. I mean, it may be easy to get rid of the leaves, but it's beginning to get pretty high and pretty deep there in the entrance. And like I said, that's the only place we got to park that wouldn't cost us anything. I just sort of
You know, we bought it.
think about it before next year,
Yeah.
before we start putting leaves there.
Yeah, and I would like to see us, since we have it, you know, I don't know why we couldn't bush hog it. And, you know, I understand there may not be a parking area, but why can't...
No, we're
Yeah.
gonna spread them out.
Because, you know, I don't know why we can't be using it. Thank you, Mr. Williams.
We are gonna keep it mowed, so hopefully soon we get a walking track on it.
Okay, well, okay. To me, a walking track doesn't have to be, you know, gravelled. It could just be a, you know, a designated area.
Right.
You know, I mean, it's just a big open field. So, anyway, maybe soon. I'd like to see that maybe. And we'll get those leaves, Mr. Williams. I don't think they're going to compost in a year. I don't know much about gardening, but I think it takes a little longer, but yeah. Do we have any other questions or concerns? Yes, ma'am.
Where my neighbor says there's a bunch of leaves there, and with all this rain, I'm getting flooded. And I'm handicapped, can I get somebody to come and clean out the leaves and, fix mine right there? In the tile, I guess.
We can. We'll come look at them.
I did, it's flooded, almost the truck and the car.
Well, with
With that flooding and stuff, like
with the flooding concerns,
there's a trail of leaves down here,
yes, ma'am, and I've noticed, and I guess the police are aware, on Mirandy, there is, I think by the time I go home, the water will be completely across the road from Mr. Stanton's, and that is a very dangerous area. I know we've had to have water rescues from that area, and I think maybe we go out and put up some lights, some of those flashing caution things, or I don't know, but Chief, you may just want to have somebody check it just to see, or pardon? Well, I haven't been by yet, so okay.
Mr. Staten has offered an easement if we wish to tile that and take that water out of there.
It would certainly make it easier for him to sell the portion that he has up for sale.
I think that is the alternative to that. So, if you all want to review that, I can look at it and tell you, and then you all can decide if you want to move forward with that. But he did offer easement to tile that and take that water off of there if we want to look at that.
Okay.
But you are right. He has a piece of property for sale right there.
Yeah, it's not, I don't know that with all this rain that it wouldn't make a great picture for the, to advertise. But anyway, anything else? Be happy to entertain any questions. We got started a little late today, so I'm happy to stay over. All right, not hearing anything else, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor? I don't think we have to call the roll on that one, Ms. Black. Thank you.